Dear viewers, the topic which we will discuss today is, can China go to war over Taiwan with the US? Back-to-back events have taken place, and such events have led to a very strange situation, crisis situation, as far as that region is concerned, the Asia-Pacific region. And it all began when the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, she decided, despite reservations of China, to visit Taiwan. What is the issue of Taiwan? And why the Chinese government showed its resentment over the visit of the Speaker of the US House of Representatives, and she's number 2 after the President, Joseph Biden. Basically, there are a couple of things which we need to analyze. The first is that from 1949, when Communist China came into being, and the regime of Chiang Kai-shek took refuge in Taiwan, called as Formosa, and mainland China came under the Communist Party rule. From 1949 till 1970, the United States had constantly vetoed the membership application of People's Republic of China to the UN and also Security Council. And the reason being that the legitimate government of China, according to the US, the Taiwanese government, that was very illogical, absurd type of an argument. How can? Taiwan's population today is 23 million and the Chinese population is 1.4 billion. There is no match between Taiwan and People's Republic of China. So that's one thing. The second thing is that after the secret visit of the US, the then National Security Advisor, Dr. Henry Kissinger, to Peking in July 1971 via Islamabad, the process of mending of fences took place between Communist China and United States. And United States wanted to normalize relations with Communist China so as to ease off pressure from the Soviet Union and to get a market of 1 billion people over there. And then the Chinese, they made it clear, that is speaking, made it clear that they will not proceed the normalization process with the US unless United States recognizes one China policy. So the US dished its ally Taiwan and recognized the People's Republic of China. Now, 50 years down the road, People's Republic of China, or Communist China, has become a dragon, an economic superpower. The US-Chinese trade, that every year since last almost 30 years, there is a trade surplus, enormous trade surplus, the part of China, is trade with the US, several $100 billion. So therefore, when Nancy Pelosi, she announced, along with the US Defense Secretary, Lloyd Austin, to visit Taiwan, there was panic in Beijing. All sorts of threats were that the United States will have to face the consequences because of that visit, but the visit took place. The other things are basically, when we talk about the growing tension over Taiwan between the US and People's Republic of China, one thing is clear, that the confidence which the Chinese government, the Chinese Communist Party, under its leadership, that one day Taiwan will become part of China. Taiwan is certainly a country. Majority of the members of the UN have no diplomatic relations with Taiwan. Because if some member of the UN establish diplomatic relations with Taiwan, China cuts off its relations with that country. But even then, Taiwan has progressed. Taiwan is a democratic country. So it's not possible that by force China can get control over Taiwan. The case of Hong Kong was different. The case of Macau was different. Agreements were signed between Britain and Portugal, between Britain and China, between Portugal and China for the return of Hong Kong and Macau. But Taiwan is a different case study. How can Communist China think of occupying Taiwan? Which, if it happens, it will lead to Third World War. Because the United States has a defense pact. United States and its allies will not let that thing to happen. Therefore, the Chinese policy is based on soft power, diplomacy, trade, engagement with Taiwan. Taiwan and mainland China, that is people of China, they don't have diplomatic relations, but the trade is going on. People-to-people interaction is going on. Now, China has imposed a couple of sanctions over Taiwan to punish Taiwan. Why it allowed the visit of Nancy Pelosi, that is the Speaker of the House of Representatives. That after 25 years, a visit took place of a high-level American delegation to Taiwan. So therefore, it seems that Ukrainian crisis is going on between Russia and NATO. Likewise, there is another crisis between Taiwan and people of China, and how the United States has made it clear when Nancy was in Taipei, the capital of Taiwan, that the US will not disappoint its ally and will stand behind Taiwan. And if China announces any measures, any sort of measures, the use of hard power against Taiwan, it will face retaliation from the United States. So that is something which has generated a lot of crisis in the Asia-Pacific region. So therefore, to conclude, I would say that China must not fall into the trap of the United States. Because the Chinese policy since 1979's Deng Xiaoping's open door policy is not to get itself involved in any confrontation. This is what the United States wants. That China plunges itself into a crisis situation. There is an armed conflict between Taiwan and China, and that will weaken Chinese economy, which is almost number one these days. This China should not do. And therefore, if China wants Taiwan to become, as far as unification of China is concerned, that is its right, but not the use of force. Thank you very much.